toxic masculinity.
Biden would never, never keep kids in cages, just containers.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that this story is one that we've all heard already. This has been playing throughout the day. But it's a but it's a great story because it just shows how out of touch the left was when Trump was in office. Like, leftists hadn't figured out that, like, the reason that kids were being kept in, facilities apart from the adults wasn't because we, wanted to treat them poorly. It's because we wanted to protect them. We wanted to treat them well, right?
Yeah,
even
because
though
you want to find out if the person who brought the child was the actual parent, not just some kid that got kidnapped.
Exactly right.
So you can cross the
border.
border.
Or a drug mule, somebody who is hired to take drugs across the border.
Yeah.
They sometimes get kids to do that. There's all kinds of reasons why you want to stop these kids and put them in a separate, facility. And there were these photos that were actually taken during Obama's administration, and they were posted, and everybody said, "Look what Trump's doing." And then eventually it was discovered that these pictures were taken during the Obama administration. But by then, the news story had spread so far and wide that every leftist in the world was like, Trump is pure evil. Trump's keeping kids in cages. So now the shoe's sort of on the other foot, right? Because the Biden administration now has to figure out how to deal with these kids. And they're like, oh, crap, what are we going to do? Like, we have to deal with this. And they recognize the same issues that the Trump administration realized and the Obama administration realized before them.
Like, Biden's not doing anything on China.
Well, here's where I think things get really bad.
Because I saw the article today that Biden is going the same way as Trump about China.
Yeah, well, to your point, you make an excellent point, which is just that it's very easy to criticize somebody in office. It's much harder to actually do something better than they're doing if they're actually not doing a bad job, right? So it's easy to say, you're doing a bad job, you're doing a bad job, you're doing a bad job about Trump, but Trump wasn't doing a bad job. So now they're in office, and they're like, all these different things that Trump had put in place, they're trying to figure out how to do it better, and they realize they can't. But one thing that I think is that they're doing far, far worse, is that they are at least stating that they're going to implement all of these things like amnesty. They're going to open up, they're going to stop construction on the wall. They're going to stop enforcing, they're going to stop basically stopping people at the border. They're not going to stop people at the border anymore. Just let everybody in, right? They're making all these weird, they didn't say that specifically, but they've sort of suggested that that's going to be their policy moving forward.
They're kind of sneaky. If they will say, okay, we will let everybody in. I mean, not everybody, but you know what I mean. We will do the amnesty to legal aliens who are already here. I think they will do deportations like crazy.
Deportations?
Like during Obama administration. There are so many deportations.
See, that's the thing. If they start to do deportations and the media gets wind of it, they'll be criticized. So they're really screwed because while Trump was in office,
who will criticize them?
The media will definitely criticize them for that. Certain people in the media will. Now, during the Trump administration, they said, we're going to do all these things. They kind of indicated that it was going to be like an open borders policy. That was the kind of sum of all the different parts. And everybody was going to get amnesty and all this kind of stuff. It was going to be like a migrant utopia. And so if they don't do that, they are going to face some kind of blowback. They are going to face some criticism. But that would be devastating in many ways to the country. So they can't do that. So now they're in this sort of checkmate position, or not checkmate, stalemate position, where they really can't move one way, they can't move the other. What was my point going to be about this Jen Psaki thing? Yeah, but to me this is really funny because now they're basically doing many of the similar things that Trump did. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So a lot of the stuff that they've announced, a lot of the statements that they've made, both before the election and since, have emboldened all these people from like Guatemala and places like that who say, oh, the United States is now going to open their borders and they're going to give amnesty to all of us. So they have basically encouraged people to come in. So now Joe Biden is in this position. Well, not Joe Biden because he doesn't really do anything. But the Biden administration is in this position where they've essentially encouraged everybody to come up. And they can't do the things that they said they were going to do. So now they have this like massive...
They can't because, first of all, they said amnesty only for the people who were in United States before January 1st, 2021.
Oh, is that what they said? When did they say that?
Inauguration.
When did they say that?
Well, they said that.
Okay.
Whatever, 11 million illegal aliens going to get their status, but if they can prove they were here before January 1st.
Was it 11 million? I can't remember what they said, but whatever the number they said was far less than actually is here. So that was kind of annoying. Let's see. Let's watch Jen Psaki suffer, shall we, guys?
Platform if they choose to.
Uh-oh. What did we do?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. We spoke yesterday about immigration and this facility, HHS facility in Carrizo Springs, Texas, for migrant children. And kids in cages. We've seen some photos now of containers. Is there a better description? Is it kids in containers instead of kids in cages? What is the White House's description of this facility?
Well, let me give a broader description of what's happening here. We have a number of unaccompanied minors, children who are coming into the country without their families. What we are not doing, what the last administration did, was separate those kids, rip them from the arms of their parents at the border. We are not doing that. That is immoral, and that is not the approach of this administration. These kids, we have a couple of options. We can send them back home and do a dangerous journey back. We are not doing that either. That is also putting them at risk. We can quickly transfer them from CBP to these HHS-run facilities. That's one option. Or we can put them with families and sponsors without any vetting. There were some problems that process ran into as well. We've chosen the middle option. And these HHS facilities, this is one of them you're referring to, we had to expand and open additional facilities because there was not enough space in the existing facilities and if we were to abide by COVID protocols. That's the process and the step. This facility in Texas, which has been reopened, has been revamped, there are teachers, there is medical facilities, and our objective is to move these kids quickly from there to vetted, sponsored families, and to places where they can safely be. This is a difficult situation. It's a difficult choice. That's the choice we've made.
That cracks me up. I love watching her like struggle. She's like a spider in a jar with like a hot lamp next to it, and she's like freaking out because it is a difficult situation. That's exactly right. It's amazing. Like, you don't really understand somebody else's suffering until you walk a mile in their shoes, right? They're now having to basically face the same situation that Trump faced, and Obama before him even, right? How do you deal with illegal immigrants? And they're finding that they've got to do exactly the same thing Trump did. What did she say? She characterized what Trump did totally disingenuously and then said, we're not doing that. Well, we're not tearing them from the arms of their mothers. We're not doing that like Trump did. We're not shooting them
Trump
in the face.
Trump was personally going there and taking every
Trump
child
going,
one by one from
listen,
their
lady,
mothers.
grabbing their hair, grabbing the kid away from them, throw them into a cage. Yeah. Well, we didn't break their arms like Trump did. We didn't punch them in the face like Trump did. I mean, you can say any kind of like nonsense.
Actually, Melania Trump, she was working to reunite the family.
Of course, yeah, I remember.
They did such a big job, like huge, complicated, and nobody covered it.
No,
That's what Melania
not.
was complaining about. She was like, no, I'm swearing. I kind of liked her more after that.
I know, yeah.
She finally shows some character, and and they were doing good things for immigrants. Nobody cared.
No. I mean, Trump did a lot of things that the left should have liked, right? He set up a whole system to try to combat the oppression of homosexuals around the world. And that's a thing that leftists have to love, because in a lot of places, if you're gay, you're murdered or you're imprisoned or something like that. Trump set up a thing to try to stop that around the world. Trump pumped in a bunch of money, tons of money, into the black community in America. Different kind of black programs for black businesses, all kinds of black stuff, right? Nobody talked about that. Nobody covered that. Van Jones mentioned it once on CNN, and it was actually news because Van Jones mentioned it on CNN. I mean, Trump did so many things for black people, and they just wouldn't cover it. So many things for gay people, they just wouldn't cover it. I mean, Trump did as much as he could for as many people as he thought needed help in whatever way he thought. Now, Trump and I might disagree with who needs help all the time, but I do appreciate that he was trying to help people with federal money.
He did help a lot, especially to the black community, because there was the lowest black unemployment in the last...
Oh, yeah. Well, that's how I look at it, right? Actually, increasing the quality of life of all Americans is really the best strategy. Creating a system that facilitates the growth of...
Yeah, because if you will make better, like taxes and cuts and other stuff for businesses... They will hire more people.
You will hire more
Hiring
people,
more people, lower unemployment.
Yeah, it's that's old adage.
Everybody win in this situation.
Yeah, there's an old adage in America. I don't know if it's in English. If you give a guy a fish, he'll eat for a day. But if you teach a guy to fish, he'll eat for the rest of his life. And I love that. So it's kind of about education, but it's kind of about just facilitating somebody's growth and development as opposed to just giving them charity or a handout. The left is all about giving people fish and
that's my favorite what would you call it,
saying.
Yeah, when you teach somebody how to catch the fish instead of just giving a fish.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
It's like give people a job so they can a job so he can earn the money and feed himself.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving him food.
That's your favorite. You don't know the word. This is good television right here, folks. This is real entertainment. Listening to a girl try to think of a word. Okay, let's move on to the next story.
Democrats push Biden. Okay. Democrats push Biden to share his authority over U.S. nuclear weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Toxic Masculinity. Weekdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.